Bonhoeffer once said. Check the description below to read Bonhoeffer's original text after 10 years. For more information about Bonhoeffer or to download this video without background music, go to sproutschools.com.
The Bible in Romans chapter 6 verse 16 says, "Don't you know that when you offer yourself to someone as obedient slaves, you are slaves of that one you obey? Whether you are slaves to sin, which leads to death, or to obedience, which leads to righteousness, that's up to you." So we are fully responsible for how we submit ourselves to others, to obey them and to follow them, even when it's clear that you are being lied to. You still follow that direction. You are getting lost deliberately. You are responsible. You're on your own, essentially.
Nigeria jaga jaga, everything scatter scatter. Come on, they suffer. Bossa, gunshot in the air.
I beg, which kind abomination be this one? Where common manager for company go carry the owner, tie am with rope, throw am inside prison and take over in business. Where you don't see this kind of abomination before? Hey, only for Niger. True. It don't dey sure back and say Nigeria know the ruling people well. The country know they benefit anybody. Now him make Nigeria they crawl for belle like snail. They follow other small country them for back. Now him make them they call us the capital of poverty in the world. Chai! Shame on Nigeria. I beg. Enough is enough. Because of this reason, the indigenous ethnic nationalities of Middle Belt and the South, under the umbrella of the Nigeria Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, NINAS, they don't join together on 16 December 2020 to declare a constitutional force majeure, CFM, over a sovereignty quarrel, where then they ask only two questions. One, which time we take submit ourselves, our land, our assets, even our natural treasure into the force by force Nigeria Union? Hey, which time itself we follow make for ourselves the year 1999 Nigeria Constitution? All na lie, all na story, na daylight robbery be this yo. But we get work to do for inside all this matter. Oh yeah, this one na must to make we join hand sharp now with the Nigeria Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, NINAS. Now then won't tear down that fraudulent lie 1999 Constitution so that we can forward march and start a new beginning for everybody. I beg, make we join together to sign that petition where we title End Apartheid Nigeria by restoring the self-determination rights of ethnic nationalities. It is for all media platforms of Daughters of Truth, BVI Channel 1, Heritage TV UK, and www.freedomfromnigeria.com. If you sign this petition, be say you don't follow more than 20 million signature them where we dey collect for take show the United Nations. Remember say na only us fit free ourselves from the oppression, repression, marginalization and subjugation which the Nigerian country don't carry jam him own people for head.
Come on, they suffer. Bossa, gunshot in the air.
Now the Voice of Liberty International bring on this story.
Corruption called Nigeria that must be tackled urgently. Everyone knows that Nigeria, as experimentally constituted in 1914 by the British colonial masters, has evolved into a full basket of problems, wars, miseries, and controversies for the indigenous peoples, who are mesmerized, confused, brutalized, and outrightly denied human rights on daily basis. Nigeria is suffocating everyone in Nigeria. Children, youths, men and women, families are directly and indirectly affected. At the entrance gate of a university in South Africa, an inscription reads, "Destroying any nation or country does not require the use of atomic bombs or the use of a long-range missile. It only requires lowering the quality of education and allowing cheating in the examinations by students. The consequence is patients die at the hands of such doctors, buildings collapse at the hands of such engineers, money is lost at the hands of such economists and accountants. Humanity dies at the hands of such religious scholars. Justice is lost at the hands of such judges. So, the collapse of education is the complete collapse of a nation or a country. Nigeria, as a divergent ethnic nationalities forced to be in one political union, the center no longer have the capacity to hold together democratically, such as plastic union. So, because of this simple but complex reason, nation building is quite impossible in Nigeria. Indigenous peoples, their sovereignties, assets, and resources are being hijacked by the Fulani Caliphate through an imposed 1999 fraudulent constitution. So the Fulani Caliphate dominates and rules over the rest of us as infidels. The same Sharia Caliphate are also feudalists who believe that all men are not born equal and that they are born to rule over the rest of us in the toxic Nigerian Union. As a consequence of this feudalist worldview by the Sharia Caliphate, which translates to a master-slave society, the insistence by the rest of Nigeria on democracy, which is premised on the equality of all men, translates in the imagination of the Sharia Caliphate to a direct challenge on their master-slave worldview, and therefore an affront against the master by the slave, which is punishable by death. The situation to the majority of the people, the South and the middle belt of Nigeria precisely, therefore, is that of being guilty on two separate counts that each carry death penalty. A lot is very wrong with the current fraudulent constitution that does not allow for referendum for self-determination. Consequent on this fraud are lot of hunger, hardship, anger, unemployment, frustrations, killings, corruption, injustice, nepotism, subjugation, marginalization, insecurity, political rape, election manipulation, ethno-religious killings, economic conspiracy and strangulation, and so many other human casualties. All these woes are traceable to this 1999 fraudulent caliphate imposed constitution, and this is untenable. Another blindfolding ploy by the caliphate is to use a political game against the gullible politicians from the alliance territory of South and Middle Belt to go into elections in 2023. Some political actors from the alliance territories do not seem to sense the danger ahead by thinking that a slot for Southern presidency will solve the hydra-headed problems in Nigeria. The problem of Nigeria can be solved by a president coming from Southeast or Southwest or wherever. Ninas is saying that all political parties should close shops. All political parties should close shops. And all politicians should retreat and surrender to the will of the peoples. All politicians should retreat and surrender to the will of the peoples. And they should be among the movement. They should join the movement of the peoples to decommission the fraudulent 1999 Caliphate imposed constitution because it is not paying any person good. And the people say no more elections under the current 1999 fraudulent Caliphate imposed constitution. The peoples say all the ethnic nationalities which make up the peoples say no more elections under the current 1999 fraudulent Caliphate imposed constitution. Power belongs to the people. Power belongs to the people. For more information and to learn more, visit the websites www.ninasvoice.org, www.ninasvoice.org, ninasvoice.org. And the other one is www.lowernigercongress.org, www.lowernigercongress.org. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned in the Lower Niger Radio always and get more information, get more enlightened, and get more educated. Thank you. God bless you.
Muslim extremists are accused of waging a campaign of ethnic cleansing against Christians in Nigeria. One America's Neil McCabe has more from Washington.
National security expert Frank Gaffney told One American News that all over the world, people are targeted because they choose to follow Jesus Christ. But right now in Nigeria, it has become a slaughter.
Nigeria is in the midst of an incipient civil war in which both indigenous forces, some from far removed, who have in common what I call Sharia supremacism, are engaged in a ethno-religious cleansing of Nigeria.
Gaffney said the ethno-religious attacks on Christians had many layers. One is geography, with the country's heavily Muslim northern states officially governed by Sharia law. It is also in the north where terrorist groups where Boko Haram and West African ISIS operate freely. Then there is also the local anti-Christian militia called Hausa Fulani. Roughly half of Nigeria's 200 million people are Christian, but they are clustered in the center of the country and along the Atlantic coastline. These Christian regions are also where the oil and natural resources are located, meaning that the anti-Christian jihad is fueled by a quest to seize these riches. Gaffney said the humanitarian crisis for Christians can no longer be ignored.
The trouble with this scenario is not only the bloodletting of innocent people simply because they follow Jesus Christ, but large numbers of those people will be fleeing. The resultant mayhem.
The graduate of Georgetown's Foreign Service School said, the ongoing destruction of Nigerian Christians will go down as one of the worst genocides in history.
We're witnessing a persecution of Christians on a scale that makes what Pol Pot and Hitler and Stalin and Mao did in their day combined pale by comparison.
The human rights watchdog Open Doors USA ranked Nigeria as the 12th most hostile to Christians in their 2018 report. There was, quote, a seemingly constant violence, unquote, against Christians that so far this year has already cost hundreds of lives. Neil W. McCabe, One America News, Washington.
Want to see more?
This killing is ongoing and it's continuing. Unfortunately, the world press is not keen in or paying attention to what's going on in Nigeria. There's a targeted genocide in Nigeria that is being supervised by the current government of Muhammadu Buhari. And there is a sheikh in the north, Ahmed Gumi. He was trained in Saudi Arabia. And he is fraternizing with terrorists who are killing people and kidnapping students. In fact, he gives them money, and he's now planning to open up a school, or if maybe he's probably opened the school up already to accommodate the same terrorists. So terrorism is an official business in Nigeria. While Boko Haram is doing what they are doing, ISWAP, ISIS is coming in. Nigeria's own government-owned and operated terrorist group, Fulani, Miyetti Allah, Fulani herdsmen terrorists, owned and operated by Miyetti Allah and the government. They are going across the country to kill and destroy the people and make the country an ungovernable place. And the government is behind them, defending them, protecting them, not laying hand on them, not arresting them. In fact, they go after those people that tries to stop the Fulani terrorists like Sunday Igboho. This is the way Nigeria is structured now, and that's why multi-regional binding referendum is unavoidable. That's the most peaceful way to get Nigeria sorted out of all this nonsense.
Brief introduction of our Lower Niger Radio.
Lower Niger Radio is the initiative of a few individuals who saw the necessity of enlightening and educating our peoples in the Lower Niger Territory on the urgent need to be part of this liberation project of all the ethnic nationalities that are entrapped in the union of death Nigeria has become for them. Following the events happening in Nigeria today and always, I am sure nobody is happy with Nigeria as currently constituted. However, the owners of their respective ancestral lands in the South and Middle Belt formed a strong alliance for the single purpose of self-determination. This alliance is called NINAS, the Nigeria Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, which declared a constitutional force majeure, CFM, on the 16th of December 2020. NINAS has 3 blocks, the Lower Niger, the Yoruba, and the Middle Belt blocks. NINAS cannot be pensioned without connecting it to the Lower Niger Congress. So, seeing and recognizing the enormous good work the Lower Niger Congress had been doing all these years, these few individuals formed a media team to help the Lower Niger Congress bring these messages of hope, trust, and truth to all our peoples in our homeland. These peoples include Anang, Ibibio, Efik, Ishan, Ijaw, Idoma, Igbo, Kalabari, Bini, Itshekiri, Urobo, Obolo, Ogoni, Ogoja, Ugep, and so many others. Join us today and be part of the People's Revolutionary Movement for total freedom from the oppressive and brutal caliphate-imposed document called 1999 Fraudulent Constitution. Power belongs to the people. Lower Niger Radio is your voice of liberation.
Told you to die.
This is protesting for Nigeria.
Listening as an American was being interviewed by a member of NINAS during the UN General Assembly in New York, where Nigeria government went to hire foreigners to counter-protest the justified right of citizens to protest against their government's mishandling of what's supposed to be a country. That's what NINAS is all about, to correct, to arrest the drift going on in Nigeria. Nigeria, instead of listening or doing the right thing, went to hire foreigners, paid them to come and counter what was going on. And the man was interviewed.
Oh, for Nigeria, yeah. For a stronger Nigeria, say Nigerian Christian, not target of genocide or ethnic cleansing. So what part of Nigeria are you from? You're not in Nigeria. So how then you're not in Nigeria and you're protesting for Nigeria? Well, anybody's black, you know what I'm saying? I protest with them. Well, you know, when you got to protest with the information and the stuff that is happening. No. So how do you know that Nigerian Christians are not the target? How did you know that? I don't know. So why didn't you have the placard? Well, look, I'm going to tell you something. Me, I protest for anybody. I help a lot of people. So you were paid to do this? Yeah. Or you were paid to do this? Yeah, I just joined in with everybody. Because you didn't know black, white. No, I understand. It is good to support brothers, to support the culture, but also it is also good to protest and pass the right information, right? It's a lot of information going out here. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people twist a lot of things up. Yeah. I don't know for sure. Well, you got to do a little bit digging. However, you know what I'm saying? I'm just here to help everybody out. I understand that. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. You're doing what they asked you to do. Yeah. At least you're paid to do this, and you're doing what you get paid for. No, it's not about pay. You know what I'm saying? It's just about
through referendum. Here's an article by Malcolm Omiroho. I don't know how to pronounce it very well. He says to avoid a failed state, Nigerian elites must mobilize and enlighten the youth masses to seek a people's constitution that guarantees justice for all. The Lagos-based lawyer Mark Onomi Hobo has asked and answered the most poignant question regarding the fast progression of Nigeria into becoming a totally failed state in recent years. The learned gentleman asked this question because he sees the Nigerian elite core, who constitute the intellectual and economic backbone of society, as too reticent in addressing the complex conundrum in which the country is mired. The aloofness and nonchalance of the elite core enable and facilitate the entrenchment of a corrupt governance order that has, with time, translated into all the woes of today's unitary Nigeria. Omir Hobo has no doubt that if nothing is done sooner to remedy the situation, Africa's most populous country should become a failed state. He then asks, who will suffer if Nigeria becomes a failed state? He concludes that the same elite core who prefer to play the proverbial ostrich now by failing to speak out against misgovernance and maladministration of the country should bear the brunt of the existential miseries of living in a failed state, but in a polity that is driven by crass opportunism, greed, and narcissistic instincts, hardly have the time to stop and reflect on anything that can interfere with the ongoing feeding frenzy at the center. The elite core are perceived by society's underdogs as active collaborators, and thus the main beneficiaries of the oppressors ruling over everything at the very top. In a failed state, those who wield power now shall be able to devise the means to protect themselves and their immediate cronies. The elite class, comprising professionals, technocrats, administrators, and the merchant class, is left to its own means after all the institutions of governance collapsed nationwide. Chief Omir Hobo spoke plainly as he painstakingly details the travails awaiting the Nigerian elite in a failed state. For the underclass, the writer quipped, "He that is low needs fear no fall. He that is low needs fear no fall, or he that is down needs fear no fall." The elite middle class shall experience the most trauma if Nigeria becomes a failed state today. Common sense would compel a critical mass of the country's elite core to become more attentive and proactive on matters pertaining to national governance, in particular, and the political economy. I'll go over that again. Common sense would compel a critical mass of the country's elite core to become more attentive and proactive on matters pertaining to national governance, in particular, and the political economy in general. But as we already know too well, common sense is not a common commodity, particularly in Nigeria. To read Malcolm Omiroho's article in full, go to the LNC USA website homepage and scroll toward the bottom. This brief was prepared by Dr. Okenwanwosu. On the position of the Igbo traditional leaders and the organized religious bodies, the joint body acknowledges the statement by the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Mr. Abubakar Malami, in which he affirmed that the federal government was open to a political solution to Mazen Nnamdi Kanu's case. This statement is in line with the proposal earlier made by this joint body and other well-meaning persons and groups in Nigeria. This body therefore eagerly awaits the concrete steps that would be taken in this regard. Igbo traditional and religious leaders made this statement. Now, this press release advertises a tacit agreement between the rulers in Abuja and the Igbo traditional and organized religious institutions to utilize the ongoing trial of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu and the group he leads as an object for seeking a political solution, unquote, to the gridlock in which unitary Nigeria has found itself. Agreeing to a political solution with a personality and agenda that are nebulous and often controversial is as good as agreeing to nothing when the chips are down. This press release is nonetheless a tacit acceptance that the ongoing trial of the IPOB leader and all the drama associated with it are expected to come to naught unless a political deal can be worked out to negotiate the so-called political solution sooner than later. The Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, NINAS, has not only identified the political solution as the abrogation of unitary Nigeria, but has also established a practical roadmap for empowering 200 million fellow stakeholders to retake control of their God-given ancestral lands as an inalienable right. Those who currently expect spectacular outcomes out of the ongoing trial of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu have cause to moderate their optimism after reading through this release from the caucus of Igbo traditional and religious leaders. I counsel those who are seriously looking for a political solution out of today's national conundrum to reach out to the NINAS. They should also become part of the ongoing Constitutional Force Majeure, CFM, by helping to mobilize the largely poorly informed masses at the grassroots. The time for playing to the gallery is over at this juncture. Those who are truly interested in terminating Mazen Nnamdi Kanu's incarceration in Abuja should join the NINA's ongoing endeavor to bring about a political solution to the unitary imposition that has crippled a once hopeful Nigeria. The Constitutional Force Majeure CFM bandwagon should deliver us to the long-awaited political solution. This was written by Dr. Okenwawos, the head of LNC US.
Dr. Okpara arrives at Umuahia Ibeku, his hometown, for a civic reception in his honor. He's accompanied as usual by his wife, Mrs. Adama Okpara. Mrs. Okpara is a beautiful housewife, humble and unassuming. Prayer before the reception. In the address of welcome, read by the secretary of the Umuahia community, tribute is paid to Dr. Azikiwe for appointing one of their sons as his worthy successor. A tiger skin and a cow for the premier. Tiger skins are a traditional gift for gallantry. Mrs. Okpara, in her turn, receives a woven native cloth from the women's section. In response, the Premier says that he is the servant of his people, and no servant is greater than his master. On behalf of his wife and himself, he thanks the community for its fine gifts and the kind sentiments expressed in the address of welcome. A Bende traditional war dance. The Bende are a warlike people with a long history of victories over their enemies in days gone by. What joy and comfort for the Premier to be able to turn from official cares and worries to the parents who laid the foundations of his career. The Premier ends his first official tour by attending Students' Day at the Uzwakoli Methodist College, his alma mater. He has a reunion with former colleagues and makes new friends. Eastern Nigeria, side by side with the other members of the Federation, is forging ahead. Its young Premier, Dr. Michael Okpara, pursues a policy based on the philosophy of live and let live and a decent life for all. The people of Eastern Nigeria respond wholeheartedly also to his appeals for agrarian evolution. Farming has become the order of the day in the eastern region, and communities are voluntarily offering land for the farm settlements proposed by Dr. Okpara's government, bringing hope for a better life, not through mere slogans, but through deeds, and building up agriculture as the only solid basis for true development. Like her premier, Eastern Nigeria is young, progressive, and open to the world.
Where do Christians suffer the worst persecution in the world? China, Iran, Somalia? International Christian Concern has just unveiled its 2021 report on the top persecutors of the year. ICC lists 3 top persecutors this year: the worst country, worst group of persecutors, and the worst individual persecuting Christians. Well, joining us to discuss this year's list and to explain about what's happening around the world is ICC President Jeff King. Jeff, it's good to talk with you again. So let's get right into it. The worst country persecuting Christians this year. Surprise, it's not North Korea. Which country is it and why?
Well, yeah, Kim Jong-un, North Korea, it's always going to be a top performer, right? But what we looked at was like how many Christians are being killed presently. Is it a problem that's not addressed? We chose Nigeria. It's a surprise for a lot of people. But Gary, in the last 20 years, 100,000 Christians have been killed. 3 million plus Christians have had their lands, farms, homes stolen from them. And the government is part of the problem. So we chose Nigeria.
Well, I know a lot of people say Nigeria, that's just Fulani herdsmen and so forth, but it goes well beyond that. Tell us a little more.
Well, this is the problem. We work in Washington, D.C., and we're working with the government. And so that's the line that comes from the Nigerian government. They want to frame this as a conflict between farmers and herders. It's not a conflict. It's a one-sided war. It's a genocide against Christians. There's Boko Haram also, but the Fulanis have done much more damage. The Fulanis are going in. These are armed groups that go in and shoot up Christian villages and take their land. And what's going on is it's a war that never ends, is never addressed. The Nigerian military never goes after the attackers. There's no arrests, there's no battles, there's nothing. And the reason is that, look, Muslims are in control of the police, the army, and the intel agencies. There's a whole security apparatus of Nigeria is controlled by the Muslims. And so the fix is in is the phrase. It's like it never gets fixed. It's never addressed. Nothing ever happens.
Okay, Jeff, let's move on then and discuss the worst group persecuting Christians this year. It's not Boko Haram or Al-Shabaab. Who is it? What are they doing?
Well, it's the Taliban. And Gary, look, the Taliban has been, torturing, murdering Christians for years. The problem is that now they are in control of a state and they have a potent intel security apparatus set up by us, but now they're in control of it. They're calling Christian leaders. We know you. We're watching you. We're going to come get you. They're going door to door. And unfortunately, just this past 2 weeks, they grabbed the first Christian. And what happens is they'll torture him. They'll find out who the other Christians are he knows. And then if he won't turn back to Islam, they'll kill him. And there's going to be a whole bunch of that.
Well, a lot to pray about on that. Now, the worst government leader or person persecuting Christians, it's not Canada's Justin Trudeau for shutting down churches and arresting pastors during the COVID pandemic. So which government leader did you list as the top persecutor targeting Christians and why?
Well, you already nailed it. It's North Korea and it's Kim Jong-un. So either the country or he are going to show up in the top list. But look, the whole North Korean state exists to serve him and to keep him in power and the Kims in power. So we chose him as the individual doing the worst job against Christians, doing the most persecution against Christians. I think people know it, but look, if a Christian is caught with the Bible, if they're a real Christian, the regime will take 3 generations of one family and stick them in prison for life. And these are prison camps that are designed to slowly kill off people.
And of course, we know that you have to worship the leader there. Juche is their faith, and that's worship of their leadership. I know there are many other countries of concern, especially, let's say, India, where attacks against Christians are on the rise. Tell us what's happening there, Jeff.
Well, India is especially disturbing, Gary, because India has a constitution that guarantees religious freedom, and they have a tremendous track record. But what's happened is you have some hyper nationalists, some fundamentalist Hindus that have gained control. The Prime Minister Modi, is a radical Hindu. His party, the BJP, these are radical Hindus. They believe quite fervently that India is only for Hindus, and in India and Hinduism are fused, and there's no room for anybody else, and they're doing everything they can to slowly strangle Christianity. You won't hear it from his lips. He's a smart politician. Listen to the BJP leaders, listen to his leaders in the party. You'll hear it quite clearly. They're not shy about it.
And Jeff, I know China and Pakistan, those are always places of concern. And you've been to many of these countries. You've met with many persecuted believers around the world. Which country really is driving you to your knees in prayer right now? Maybe what one should we keep our eyes on?
Well, I pray for Nigeria constantly. We do a lot of work with the victims there. The 3 million plus that have already lost everything. Their homes have been stolen. 70 to 100,000 killed. The government is part of the problem, because just like you said, the government says this is just herders and farmers. It's a conflict. It's nothing but, and they are complicit in the attacks on Christians.
Okay, I know that you're hoping this report will put more pressure on these governments to affect change. Jeff King, president of International Christian Concern. Thank you, Jeff, for sharing your time and insights. We appreciate you and the work you're doing.
Love you guys and what you're doing, Gary. Thank you so much.
God bless.
What can you say about the recent increase in the electricity tariff?
Electricity tariff, it is appalling. That is the reason why I have been in a compadres lacuna.
Wow.
Not a recapitulation. But let me tell you this, that it is Leka and Pongwatidos, that in a Lekotla, in an imbecile, flacidious, and innovative matters, were excogitatedly ruminated. We also eat how the revidistical politicals move from budget disappearance to budget doctoration. Now, we are faced with a debilitating, exasperating, a reverberating, and a homogeneous electricity tariff. And this tariff is imitating with a financial lobotomization. But I pray that this is not ignite a clamorous demonstration. Now, come to think of it, how dare they deplete the citizens of the ossiferous and vociferous modus vivendi? Enough of this vilification and solecism. This is execrably pugnacious, pestilential, and attenuating. Imagine the imbibition of the political rodomotives, which has kept us in an urgent humiliation. Why? Now, Nigeria is in a political somnambulism and molocution. Nigeria is in a financial and economic dantigism. Look at the way the game politics has become a vocabulary. What a political poly-poly. What a political hoity-toity. What a political foodie-toodie. What a political hocus-pocus they have come. What a political jabberwocky. What a political publicon. What a political couple de call.
Sir,
with this concentration, I ask that you accept my pentination circumlocution. Accept my pentination circumabagos, gadulukans, and madulukans. But I will tell you this, I will not koto in their pillow. Thank you. I will refuse to koto in their pillow. Thank you.
Lower Niger Radio is your station for all the amazing topics on history, culture, and self-determination. We discuss ways we can solve our collective problems created for us by seen and unseen, known and unknown elements. We take you from the starting point to your destination. We promote and uphold our cultural, social, and moral values. Tune in today and listen to amazing personalities and be entertained as well. Lower Niger Radio is your voice of liberation for the peoples of Anang, Bini, Eshan, Efik, Ibibio, Ibo, Ishekiri, Ijo, Igede, Kalabari, Ubolo, Ugoja, Ugoni, Okrika, Urobo, and others. We bring you messages of hope, truth, and trust. Lower Niger Radio, your voice of liberation from slavery.
Important clarifications today, November 22nd, 2021, regarding campaign platforms. Originally released February 13th, 2021. This public communication dated February 13, 2021 is being reproduced today, November 22nd, 2021 to provide background information on the emergence of the Nigeria Indigenous Alliance for Self-Determination, NINAS, from a clear, cohesive strategic intervention process that dates back to the 1999 imposition of the current Nigeria Constitution. In summary, post-NADECO 1994-1998 and after the countrywide deep consultations that took over 5 years, the Pro-National Conference Organizations, PRONACO 2005 to 2006, was a sovereign conference initiative involving all the nationalities of Nigeria to restore, upgrade, and reinforce the Aburi Consensus of 1967 as basis of the defunct Federation of Nigeria. The MNN Movement for New Nigeria 2006 through 2017 was the implementation phase of the PRONACO Consensus, excluding the Sharia Caliphate, which is the 12 Sharia states in the Ariwa, which had unilaterally seceded from the Secular Union of Nigeria, beginning with at year 2000 when they started declaring Sharia law in the north. The 2007 through 2019 legitimacy suits against the fraudulent 1999 constitution was instituted by the arrowheads of Movement for New Nigeria, while mobilization continued to rally the non-Sharia rest of Nigeria, South and Middle Belt, into stepping up to take back their sovereignty, hitherto hijacked and confiscated by the suzerainty of unitary Nigeria erected upon the 1999 Constitution. The MNN Lagos Declaration of June 30, 2011 set the parameters for that recovery. Guided by the imperatives of the relevant international protocols, the regional self-determination processes mandated by the said MNN Lagos Declaration of June 30, 2011 culminated in the regional solemn assemblies of 2015, 2017, and 2018 in Port Harcourt, Ibadan, and Makurdi, covering all the nationalities of the Alliance territories. It was the completion of these regional solemn assemblies in 2018 and by the mandates of those regional solemn assemblies that the processes previously being driven by the MNN Alliance organizations since 2006 were taken over by the Alliance of the various regional people's organizations, since the self-determination they all seek is a people's right. Hence, the transmutation of the MNN Organizations Alliance into the Nigeria Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, or NINAS, in the last quarter of 2018. This was the February 13, 2021 clarification note on campaign platforms. The Lower Niger Congress, LNC, is a platform aggregating the self-determination initiatives of the pre-1966 Eastern and Midwestern regions, South, South, and Southeast, currently fractured into 11 states. As outlined in the first few paragraphs of the Aladima Epistle of 2012, the LNC has a core that reached out and built an intra-regional alliance within the nationalities of the Lower Niger, then the multi-regional alliance that brought in the Yoruba and Middle Belt, MNN, that later bettered NINAS, and the international alliance that extended to the policy beltways of Washington, D.C. and New York. The Movement for New Nigeria, MNN, was an alliance of self-determination organizations across the South and Middle Belt, enlightening and mobilizing the people, ethnic nationalities of the South and Middle Belt, being the alliance territory. The Nigeria Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, NINAS, is an alliance of the people's indigenous ethnic nationalities of the Southern and Middle Belt, who, in response to the invitation of the self-determination organizations of the alliance territory, stepped forward for the assertion of their self-determination rights of the peoples of the Alliance territory, since it is a people's right, as the name shows. MNN was a special purpose vehicle and a decoy to rally those enslaved in Nigeria together to dismantle the apartheid-like 1999 constitution. That task was substantially completed by the December 16, 2020 constitutional force majeure. It is now safe to inform us that in reality, MNN was actually a movement for New Nigeria, and the strategic decoy objectives of presenting the MNN platform as movement for New Nigeria has been fully achieved, and so shall gradually retire the mention of MNN in our public communications and instead focus the attention of the public to NINAS as the alliance that has emerged from the years of painstaking work to lead the people of the alliance territories into the extrication of their sovereignty that has been hijacked and confiscated by the caliphate proprietors of One Nigeria, who seized the carcass of the defunct Federation of Nigeria to erect the toxic One Nigeria since the 1966 demise of the Federation of Nigeria. The MNN decoy strategy information was shared with all the Biafra agitation groups in confidence, but that trust was heinously breached by Nnamdi Kanu, who instead chose to hoist that movement for New Nigeria name tag before his hoodwinked gullibles as evidence that the LNC was working for, heavily financed by the Fulani, to preserve One Nigeria and frustrate the restoration of Biafra, unquote. Knowing for obvious reasons that the LNC was not going to respond to this falsehood from inside Nigeria. The LNC laser beam onslaught against 1999 Constitution was also deliberately presented by the rogue franchise merchants to their gullibles and the rest of our people as proof that the LNC was only after Constitution amendment. These are some of the deep roots of the heavy debilitations the LNC had to endure and reason why any dealings with the clear-minded criminal called Nnamdi Kanu is ruled out. With the 1999 Constitution distressed, the peoples of Southern and Middle Belt Nigeria, cooperating under the aegis of Nigeria Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, NINAS, have stepped in to extricate their sovereignties from the defunct Federation of Nigeria in readiness for fresh protocols within the context of their inalienable right to self-determination. Let us please be guided so we don't confuse the public and inadvertently continue to arm the rogue Biafra franchise with propaganda materials. This was issued by Tony Nadi of the LNC NINAS on February 13th, 2021. Thanks for listening. The era of the angry black man is becoming the black responsibility era. It's about looking within to find reasons for being victimized and addressing them. It has become very imperative for the victims of the catastrophic rape, pillage, plunder, and deprivation currently going on in Africa, especially Nigeria, to rise up and take charge of their collective destiny. The stench of death, the evil, thick darkness, and the signs of impending doom looming and lurking around can no longer go unnoticed. What do you do when you are daily exposed to horror, yet you have no voice to express your woes because the perpetrators of your woes have silenced you with the barrels of gun they placed over your head? It is time for the indigenous peoples trapped in British Caliphate colony of Nigeria to lead the initiative to end and correct the evil done to them and their peoples. It's no more acceptable for the beneficiaries of the ongoing abomination to tell us what to do, let alone lead this all-important life-saving conversation. However, there is a way to do it.
But how would you know and understand this way if you refuse to listen to those who initiated this project about 20 years ago? Unlike you, remember, they have taken time out to study the pitfalls and landmines on this chosen pathway. So, for safety reasons, everyone cannot direct at this time. How come you like Nina's proposition but hate the messengers? Are you like the proverbial dog who refused to pay attention to the whistle of the guide because he has accepted that getting lost is his fate? You keep asking, why should it be him, her, them? As our enemies approach to swallow us while we have the key to our escape in our hands, bickering like toddlers. How can it be that we're so intelligent, yet our intelligence has refused to work for us? How is it that we are so spiritual and religious, yet our spirituality has refused to work for us? Is it the barber that lacks barbing skills, or is the hair clipper that is not sharp? Or could it be both? Please join Daughters of Truth for a thought-provoking session of their Saturday talk show, Saturday, November 20th, 2021. Here are the times from different time zones around the world. Central, 9:30 a.m. Texas Central Time, 10:30 a.m. New York Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. local time in Nigeria, 3:30 p.m. London, 8:30 a.m. Mountain Time, and 7:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, PST, which is Vancouver time. You can also check this out on Lower Niger Radio 24/7. It's there. Or YouTube, or even on Facebook. Thanks for listening.
Good morning again, President Joe Biden. That's my president. President Joe Biden. Nigerian people is calling for referendum. Welcome to New York, President Joe Biden. United Nations, that's President Joe Biden. Show his video. That's President Joe Biden. Nigerian people is calling for referendum. President Joe Biden, we want referendum in Nigeria. Nigeria is about to snap. President Joe Biden, convoy. Nigeria is about to snap. Do not allow Nigeria to snap, okay? We want referendum in Nigeria. President Joe Biden, Buhari is a terrorist. Buhari is a terrorist. We want 1999 Constitution to come down. 1999 Constitution is nepotic in nature. Buhari is a terrorist commander. Nigeria occupies the third position on global terrorist index presently. After Afghanistan, after Iraq, Nigeria is next. Please do not let Nigeria snap. President Joe Biden, the world leaders, New York, all the world leaders, we're calling upon you. Nigeria, we want referendum. United Nations, we need you to send peacekeeping forces to Nigeria. Nigeria is about to snap. Nigeria has over 210 million population. The world will not be able to contain the refugee that is going to spill out of Nigeria. Nigeria is about to snap. Nigeria is about to snap. Nigeria is about to go to civil war. Nigeria is about to snap. We're calling on the good people of the world. We're calling on the world leader. The Buhari of Nigeria is a terrorist commander. Nigeria is the third position on global terrorism index. Thank you to United States of America security and law enforcement. People, NYPD, officers of New York, for keeping United States of America safe, for keeping New York safe. We thank you, we like you, we love you. We say God bless you and your family. Please continue to keep America safe. I wish I could say the same of my motherland, Nigeria. I am originally from Nigeria, born and bred in Nigeria, and a natural noise America. I wish Nigeria is as safe as America, but no thanks to Buhari. Buhari is a terrorist. He's a terrorist. He's the patron of three major terrorists in the world, being the Taliban, the Yetiala, as well as Boko Haram in Nigeria. Terrorizing, oppressing, victimizing, and terrorizing the people of the South. Where are those pictures? Let me show people this picture. These are human beings. Where is the picture that shows the head of human beings? These are real.
People in Benue State are getting attacked, beheaded, their homes and their farms destroyed under the watch of Major General Muhammadu Buhari, who came as a Fulani champion to dominate Nigeria, to subdue Nigerian indigenous nationalities, to become slaves to the Fulani, in fulfillment of Ahmad Bello's statement on October 12th, 1960, barely 10 days after Nigeria gained independence, that the new country will be their grandfather's estate, Ottoman Danfodio. Ahmad Bello said this. So Muhammadu Buhari is carrying out that mission in the year 2021. When he speaks to Southerners, he speaks with a lot of venom. He sent soldiers to kill Shiites in southern Kaduna and Abuja on several occasions. They were buried in mass graves. Under his watch, Boko Haram has gained more space in Nigeria, outside of Borno State. Boko Haram has gained more local governments. Under his watch, senior military officers are getting killed by Boko Haram and other terrorist groups, even inside the Nigerian Defense Academy in Kaduna. Under Buhari's watch and SARS, citizens protesting the killing of fellow citizens by Nigeria's own police. I mean, Nigeria's police and military, they are worse than the colonial enforcers as well as the slave dealers. Nigeria represents far worse than the slavery era. They killed NSAS protesters, removed their body, 96 of them, according to the report by the Judicial Commission of Inquiry set up by the Lagos State government. They killed them, removed their bodies, and the next day they came with water tankers to wash away their blood in order to conceal evidence. Lai Mohammed is still Minister of Information, Minister of Misinformation and Lies and Deceptions in Nigeria as we speak. He hasn't resigned yet. Issa Pantami, that has been fingered as a terrorist sympathizer, is still in the government of Nigeria. Muhammad Buhari's government gave out over $100 million to Fulani herdsmen owners, Mieti Allah, to keep on fighting and killing people and taking over their land, replacing communities. An active genocide that happened in Rwanda is repeating in Nigeria in the year 2021. It's been ongoing and continuing, yet the world is keeping quiet. That's amazing. That's very, very unfortunate. International Religious Freedom, USCIRF, finds it unexplainable that the U.S. Department of State did not redesignate Nigeria as a country of particular concern, CPC, and treated it as a country with no severe religious freedom violations. This is contrary to what is going on in Nigeria as we speak. Fulani terrorists that are being powered by the government are still going across state lines to kill and replace communities. USCIRF is disappointed that the State Department did not adopt our recommendations in designating the countries that are the worst violators of religious freedom, said USCIRF Chair Nadine Mienza. While the State Department took steps forward on some designations, USCIRF is especially disappointed with the removal of Nigeria from its country of particular concern designation, where it was rightfully placed last year, as well as the omission of India, Syria, and Vietnam. We urge the State Department to reconsider its designations based on facts presented in its own reporting. Pursuant to International Religious Freedom Act, IRFA, the countries the State Department designated as CPC, country of particular concerns, are Burma, China, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, that is North Korea, Eritrea, Iran, Pakistan, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan. All besides Russia previously had been designated USCIRF. Okay, all besides Russia previously had been designated. USCIRF recommended CPC, country of particular concern designation for all 10 in its 2021 annual report, and also recommended that India, Nigeria, Syria, and Vietnam be designated as CPCs, country of particular concerns. This is done annually. It is reviewed every year. The State Department placed on its special watch list SWL, Algeria, Comoros, Cuba, and Nicaragua. USCIRF recommended in its 2017 annual report that Afghanistan, Azerbaijan, Egypt, Indonesia, Iraq, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Turkey, and Uzbekistan also be placed on the special watch list. USCIRF recently released a fact sheet reiterating its country of particular concern and special watch list recommendations, which explains the religious freedom violations in these countries, supporting USCIRF's recommendations. While USCIRF is concerned about the lack of designation for countries, USCIRF recommended Russia's designation for the first time as a CPC for engaging in systematic, ongoing, and egregious violations of religious freedom is welcome. USCIRF has proposed this action since 2017. For years, USCIRF has raised the alarm regarding the Russian government purge of non-traditional religions and religious freedom repression, said USCIRF Vice Chair Nuri Tokel. USCIRF also applauds the inclusion of Algeria in the State Department's special watch list designations this year, which USCIRF has recommended since 2020 due to continued enforcement of blasphemy laws and restrictions on houses of worship for minority religious communities. USCIRF also welcomed the State Department's designations of 9 entities of particular concern, EPC, entities of particular concerns, which are non-state actors that engage in systematic, ongoing, and egregious violations of religious freedom pursuant to IRFA. USCIRF recommended the designation of 7 of these actors, including Al-Shabaab that operates in East Africa, including Somalia, Ethiopia, that axis, Boko Haram of Nigeria, the Houthis in Yemen, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, Islamic State in the Greater Sahara, which might probably include ISWAP, a branch of ISIS, Jamaat Nasr al-Islam wal Muslimin, which is JNIM, and the Taliban in its 2021 annual report.
Fulani Empire, Muslim theocracy of the Western Sudan that flourished in the 19th century. The Fulani, a people of obscure origins, expanded eastward from Fouta Toro in Lower Senegal in the 14th century. By the 16th century they had established themselves at Makina, upstream from the Niger Bend, and were proceeding eastward into Hausaland. Some settled in the 19th century at Adamawa, in the northern Cameroons. Many of the Fulani continued to pursue a pastoral life. Some, however, particularly in Hausaland, gave up their nomadic pursuits, settled into existing urban communities, and were converted to Islam. In the 1790s, a Fulani divine, Usman Dan Fodio, 1754–1817, who lived in the northern Hausa state of Gobir, northeast of Sokoto, quarreled with its rulers. Accusing the Hausa kings of being little more than pagans, he encouraged the Hausa people to revolt. Joined both by Hausa commoners and by Fulani pastoralists alike, the jihad, or holy war, swept through Hausaland and, repulsed only by the Eastern Empire of Kanem Bornu, engulfed Adamawa, Nupe, and Yorubaland to the south. After the invasion by the Fulani of the northern provinces of the Oyo, the Emirate of Ilorin to the northeast became the base from which Islam was to spread among the Yoruba. Usman, who was more a scholar than a statesman, ceded the practical direction of the eastern part of the empire to his son Muhammad Bello, who settled in Sokoto, and the western, with its capital at Gwanju, to his brother Abdullahi. All three continued the Fulani denunciation of Bornu. The empire reached its zenith under Muhammad Bello, who, like Usman, administered it according to the principles of Muslim law. The decay of this system was to aid the establishment in the late 19th century of British rule over what was later to be known as northern Nigeria.
Self-determination is the answer for Nigeria. Are you angry about the jihadist genocide in the Middle Belt killing Christians for land grab? Are you angry that Fulani herdsmen are trespassing onto your farms, killing, stealing, and destroying? Are you angry that you are a citizen of a country that is now the third most, should be second, most terrorized in the world, with Boko Haram, ISIS, Fulani herdsmen, terrorists, and Al-Qaeda all operating from the same zone? Are you angry that you carry the passport of a failed country? Then you should join those seeking self-determination for ethnic nationalities. With self-determination, each ethnic nationality has the power to decide how we want to live and control our future, including resources. Self-determination is our self-defense. Join Nina's voice.org. Nina's voice.org. There's a lot riding on this.
Nina's, where we came from, where we are, on the road to freedom. Today, we speak of Nina's, but know that the struggle for the restoration of our sovereignty did not start today. As a matter of fact, the struggle started almost as soon as the sovereignty of the ethnic nationalities was stolen by the imposition of the 1999 Constitution, which maintained a unitary government. With the end of the military regime and return to democracy, there was great hope that the country would be returned to what the people had voted for, and that existed prior to the military intervention in 1966. The hope of the country was dashed when, instead of a return to a federal governance structure with multiple self-governing and autonomous government with their own constitutions, the government was kept centralized in a federal government that kept all the power, the asset, and resources of the ethnic nationalities. Making things worse, this so-called constitution was not put to a referendum, and so was not made by the people. Deprive the citizens of your right to benefit contained in Chapter 2, made federal character unenforceable, gave the lion's share of the oil and other assets to the far north through a federal account sharing process that was exclusively weighted to favor the far north and make corruption official. Let me take you back over 2 decades of our journey. It all started when the military regime of General Abdul Salami Abubakar imposed a unitary 1999 constitution, which in turn was a wholesale rival of the 1979 constitution that was also known to be a victory charter for the Nigeria-Biafra War of 1967 to 1970. When it was made public a few weeks after the inauguration of General Obasanjo as president, the better half of those in the legal profession gathered in several conferences and without much ado, recognized the flaws, loopholes, and selfish intentions, then concluded that the Constitution was not legitimate and would not lead Nigeria to any form of advancement. It was important that the mechanism or vehicle to set up a countrywide rejection of this forgery of a constitution was put in place. The journey commenced when, in 2004, the Pro-National Conference Organization, PRONACO, was established to revoke the damaged federal constitutional basis of Nigeria. PRONACO being the People's Sovereign National Conference of Ethnic Nationalities in Nigeria, convened in all ethnic nationalities, and quickly mandated its representation to go back to their people and to come up with ratified draft of how they would want to participate in the Union of Nigeria. The conference sat in plenaries across the cities of Lagos, Port Harcourt, Enugu, Jos, and Kano, then returned to Lagos for the final sitting, and in participation, conveners in the likes of Anthony Ehanuro, Wole Soyinka, Chukwu Emeka Odumego Chukwu, and similar leaders across the territories. This resolution was an agreement derived from the Composite People's Constitution as presented and defended by ethnic nationalities representation in those sequential conference. And it is important to know that there were observers from the international community, including the US and European Union observers. In August 2006, a delegate from Castina moved the motion for adoption of the draft People's Constitution that emerged from the 29-point resolution of the conference. In furtherance of the PRONACO consensus to restore the federal basis of the Nigerian Union, in 2007, the Movement for a New Nigeria was set up as an enforcement of the consensus at the time to exclude the 12 contiguous northern states that had introduced and embraced the Sharia legal system against the secular basis for Nigeria. The Allies had insisted that democracy and Sharia system could not coexist in the same political space, hence the need for a new vehicle, the Movement for New Nigeria. On the 23rd of May 2007, MMN, through its legal counsel, filed a suit at the Federal High Court Abuja to challenge the legitimacy of the imposed 1999 Constitution, seeking the termination of the entire Constitution. At the court hearings, which had the Attorney General of the Federation representing the federal government, legal representation of the National Assembly, and others, admitted the people case which they could not defend the challenge, but insisted that the plaintiff had no locus standi. In English, the plaintiff had no status at law to bring in the case to challenge the legitimacy of the 1999 Constitution. Having acknowledged that the restoration of the people's sovereignty did not need the participation or permission of government, the Joint Multi-Regional Vehicle instituted the MMN Lagos Declaration 30th of June 2011, by which the Allies partner blocks, the Lower Niger, South-South, and Southeast, the Yoruba Land, and the Middle Belt publicly rejected the Caliphate-imposed 1999 Constitution, mandating regional self-determination actions which included referendum and international outrage. In furtherance to the mandate of the MMN Lagos Declaration, the people of the Lower Niger on the 27th of April 2015 held the Solemn Assembly in Port Harcourt City to wholly repudiate the 1999 Constitution. In that assembly, the 1,885 ethno-linguistic map of the Lower Niger was adopted as a geographical basis of federating. The assembly mandated the distillation of character of relationship, as well as asset protection and guarantee scheme to protect the asset of the indigenous people in other blocks of Nigeria. On the mandate for international outrage of the MNN Lagos Declaration and LNCT visited Capitol Hills, Washington, to make a case for the termination of the operation of Nigeria's 1999 Constitution at a special congressional event on Nigeria in May 2015. The team also made informal consultation for the same matter at the UN headquarters in New York in the same year. 2 years later, still in furtherance to mandate of the MNN Lagos Declaration, the Yoruba indigenous people held the Yoruba Solemn Assembly at Ibadan on the 7th of September 2017. The Assembly publicly repudiated the 1999 Constitution as the basis of the Federation of Nigeria and proclaimed the self-determination right of the Yoruba land to reclaim autonomy of Yoruba land.
Idea, but it won't help. It'll just formalize the reality that poor countries can never repay their loans.
Senator, are you saying that you're opposed to debt relief for impoverished countries?
No, we should forgive the debts, but that's not going to help those countries very much.
Okay. What will?
Tax cuts. Some African tax rates are the highest in the world. In Tanzania, the 30% rate kicks in at $475 of income. Plus, they have a 20% value-added tax. It gets added to everything you buy. Those high tax rates make it impossible to build capital in those countries. So nothing gets built, not factories, not roads, not anything. Poor African countries have the lowest wage workers in the world. And yet a company like Nike, for instance, can't put a factory in one of those countries because of the oppressive tax rates. Taxes have killed any possibility of economic development. They've killed any hope of these countries ever helping themselves. And that leaves them completely at the mercy of charity and loans. And here's the worst part. You know why those countries have such high tax rates? Because of us. To show us that they can raise enough money to pay back their loans. But taxes can't raise any money if they kill the economies. So it turns out that the tragic, unintended consequence of our good intentions toward Africa, our kindness, is that we have encouraged those countries to lock themselves into a gruesome economic depression. If we don't...
You see the dilemma of African countries. We borrow and continue to borrow to service the interest. Beggar nations. That's what Africa has been reduced to. And that's why China is taking over gradually and steadily.
Urge those countries to cut their tax rates, they will never grow their economies. People will live lifetimes of unemployment. Disease will be rampant. Poverty will be permanent. And children will be hungry. And our charity will never be enough. Never.
Those that were shot at Lekki 2 Plaza in Lagos last year, October 20th, were hungry for justice, hungry for security, hungry for peace, hungry for development, and hungry for normalcy, hungry for a normal country. They got shot, and their blood was washed away by way of cover up by Major General Muhammadu Buhari's government. How could that satisfy the aspirations of the people to be free in their own country?
Let the worry me, make you give me joy. Don't say I
Budgets are bloated up to cater to the needs of the president and his vice and other ministers. I mean, corruption got taken to the next level by those who came to fight corruption. All tied to the 1999 Constitution. Everything that is happening to Nigerians is tied to the slave document known as the military-imposed 1999 Constitution. It has no progress attached to it. It's only destruction and ruination of the country. The Fulani intention in Nigeria is to permanently take over the entire political space. Using the combination of brute force and guile, the caliphate strategy is to maintain tight control of political power via the imposed constitution, by the key economic assets and levers of power are confiscated. The same constitutional impositions guarantee exclusive control of military power and all firearms, and those are used to facilitate the terror against ethnic nationalities by the government and the terrorists. The North do not mean well for Nigeria. Mina's alliance repudiates everything about the 1999 Constitution. In the face of the alliance defeat of the Caliphate title deed, which is the Constitution of 99, they already in the rest of Nigeria to another round of elections in 2021 under the repudiated 1999 Constitution is the only viable strategy left in the hands of the Caliphate men. It's up to us to defeat them and make sure that they never rise up again. The alliance mechanism is to tackle the North. The alliance mechanism is exploiting the aforesaid delegitimization of the 1999 Constitution. Let us win the war peacefully. Stop the march towards elections of 2023. All political parties must shut down now if they are really for the people and not for themselves.
Which way Nigeria? Which way Nigeria? Which way to go?
Which way to go?
I love my fatherland.
Oh yeah,
I want to know.
yes I want to know.
Which way Nigeria is heading to?
Constitutional force majeure. Make I talk am again. Constitutional force majeure. Oh yeah, hear am again. Oh. Constitutional force majeure. That's not the new reigning motto where they don't come out for the Nigeria Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination. NINAS. Constitutional force majeure. Now waiting we go take forward march to freedom all the ethnic nationality them where they don't throw away inside cage for this dungeon where they call Nigeria. If you never know us before, now we be the people of Middle Belt and South. We don't join hands together to formulate the Nigeria Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination. NINAS. Listen to this one. On 16 December 2020, now we don't declare a constitutional force majeure on the fraudulent Nigeria Lai 1999 Constitution. Now the Yeye Fulani ethnic minority carry this sufferness throw away for the head of the people who get the land in the first place since 1999. Chai! As they don't condemn that 1999 Wayo Constitution, NINAS don't direct the Nigeria government to gather a national roundtable meeting. Look, we for talk the kind style where we go take sit down for inside our region, on top country where we dey sleep for only one eye. This now waiting that big grammar. Constitutional force majeure go do suffering and smiling. It don't do. Nigeria people don't suffer rich. Waiting we never see. Nigerian people don't chop fear from out. All the land of the South and Middle Belt don't turn to river of blood. Waiting all because of this evil Nigeria 1999 Lai Constitution. Hey, I beg, true to God, they don't push us reach the wall. Nowhere to go again. Enough is enough. So therefore, oh yeah, everybody, make una come. Make we join hand now with NINAS. Make we for support the constitutional force majeure to free ourselves from the Fulani British captivity so that we go forward march into a free nation where your security and development is guaranteed.
I love my fatherland.
Oh yeah,
I want to know.
yes I want to know.
Which way Nigeria is heading to?
Now the Voice of Liberty International bring on this story.
Say no to 1999 Constitution. Say yes to ethnic self-determination. We have a right to fight for our freedom. We must arise and save our nation. You want good road, you sign the petition. Better work, sign the petition. Clean water and light, sign the petition. Security, sign the petition. Healthcare, sign the petition. Better schools, sign the petition. Housing project, sign the petition. Hope for the future, sign the petition. My people, we never tire for these leaders with the oppress us every day. We need to free ourselves before water passing gari pata pata. Wetin we need now to come out to this year 1999 Constitution. We don't dabaru everything finish. We need to make another new one by a referendum. We go make region control their resources. My people, no, they waste time, yo. As you they hear this message, run now. Go to www.ninasfsn.org. Make you sign that petition today. No, they waste time, mo. The time for change is now.
The U.S. Center for Security Policy declares that Nigeria under Buhari is in SOS. SLS situation and recommends immediate intervention before it explodes. The speaker in the following article is Frank Gaffney, introducing the segment of Coordinated Press Conferences Nigeria at the National Press Club, Washington, D.C. on January 17, 2019, with the team Nigeria at Breaking Point, where Tony Nnadi of the LNC made a lead presentation. Below in the comment section is also a clip from Tony Nnadi's presentation. Enjoy listening.
Again, the purpose of this event is to try to make sure that the Congress of the United States, the administration, this country, our friends and allies around the world, and not least, of course, people of goodwill in this country and elsewhere, are on notice that Nigeria is at risk of disastrous collapse, that the forces that we've just been talking about are in the process of taking down a country that is the most populous in Africa, with horrific implications, not just for the immediate vicinity, the Lake Chad region as it's known, but for that continent and almost certainly others beyond. Congressman Wolf mentioned Bono, talking about a catastrophe that would make what has happened to Europe in the past few years, as a relatively small number of people migrated there with unbelievably chaotic consequences, look like a day at the beach by comparison. But we're on notice. And the question is, do we have to wait until this horror is upon us before something is done about it? Or do we take steps now to try to prevent that? And I don't think any of us is saying that this is a panacea, but the appointment of the appropriate individual with the requisite authority. I just wanted to underscore what Congressman Wolf said about having the President of the United States essentially personally empowering Senator Danforth to lead the effort on behalf of our country to alleviate that situation. That has to be done again, and it has to be an empowering of a person with the stature and the capabilities needed to do two really vital things. One is to pull together the government agencies that have responsibility for pieces of a problem like Nigeria. The Defense Department, as well as, of course, the State Department, USAID, the UN mission of the United States, the National Security Council, and others, to come together with a common, appropriate, and much needed policy approach. And then secondly, at least as importantly, to be able authoritatively to represent what that approach is to the government of Nigeria. So they know who they're dealing with. They know that this is in fact the policy, and they can't go, looking for people who will provide some sort of alternative that might not require as much of them. So it's those two vitally important things that have to be done. And on behalf of, again, the Save the Persecuted Christians Coalition and team, I just want to say, I think this is a moment of truth, a moment when we will find a difference being made by an administration that is about making a difference on behalf of religious freedom and those who are being denied it around the world. And let me just take a moment to say, as bad as this situation is, it is just one of the areas in the world in which particularly Christians are suffering. By some estimates, it's as Small a number as 215 million Christians being brutally persecuted. By others, it's as high as 500,000. Excuse me, 500 million. This is on our watch. It is unconscionable. It must be challenged, contested, and if possible, stopped. And that's what this coalition is about. And I pray that we will be able, with the help of people like Congressman Estes and Congressman Wolf and the Archbishop and our coalition and countless others, to see this problem sorted by the appointment at the earliest possible moment, preferably by the end of this year, because these elections are approaching, of an individual with the requisite authority of the President of the United States and the assignment of making both the U.S. government policy coherent and clear and effective, and communicating that, again, authoritatively to the government of Nigeria, who in the end is ultimately responsible for preventing this catastrophe.
Opening prayer. O God, our Heavenly Father, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, O God, who delivered his people Israel from the oppressive stronghold of Egypt, you are great and you are our God. O God, we ask for forgiveness for all the sins we have committed against you and your heavenly hosts. If you do not forgive our wrongdoings, Father, who will? We, your peoples, place before you our weaknesses, our helplessness, our concerns, and our endeavors. Most merciful God, you are the Lord of the oppressed, and we entrust everything we do into your able hands. Heavenly Father, look with pity upon us, your children. We are weighed down by social injustice, political instability, poverty, hunger, unemployment, insecurity, oppression, brutality, and enslavement by seen and unseen, known and unknown forces that seem to overcome us. Father, we place ourselves, our liberation movement, our search for lasting solutions to these numerous problems created for us by known and unknown forces into your mighty hands. We also look upon you for provision of both human and financial resources to carry out this enormous task of our liberation project. Bring your lasting solutions to them so that we may live the life you have created in us as peoples created in your own image and likeness. We also commit our leaders in your hands. Direct all of them and direct all of us as we continue to move forward towards our self-determination. Channel us with your everlasting love to our final destination, which is total freedom from captivity and enslavement that we all seek. We pray in the mighty name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
The hashtag NSAS report. Finally here, a lot of people, even though it's not been officially released, says it brings closure and a step towards healing for some of the victims.
Well, so many things have happened in this country that you don't know exactly where to begin to have an analysis, when it does appear that the government actively encourages the killing of its citizens, when the Constitution of Nigeria says the primary purpose of government is to protect lives and property. And I was waiting since 2-3 days to hear one fellow who answers Garba Shehu Garba, who is a principal, is a senior advocate, always defending herdsmen and anybody who kills people in Benue and Plateau. And I haven't had anything. That Nigerian citizens were killed. Federal government hasn't said anything. A Supreme Court judge was almost kidnapped and attempted an attempt on her life. The federal government hasn't said anything. The Attorney General is there wishing thin and wishing down what he probably supposes. So, you know, things are getting so confused that the only way to put it is that someday everybody will sit down to a banquet to face the consequences of his or her actions. That is the only you know, preview, that no matter what it is, you must sit down at a banquet, either at God's judgment or even here on earth, to be able to answer the responsibility entrusted upon you by people, and you fail them. Because you are guilty of the good you never did, or you failed, you know, deliberately not to do. So, and there are so many examples of them in this country. That NSAS is another, you know, obvious thing. But thank God, with the courage of the judge and of Lagos State government, like everybody knows, an APC top government, performing government of APC too. Not just that it's an APC, it's a performing government of the situation notwithstanding. And they had the courage to face it, you know. That shows you again, there are two governments. Somebody is running this government.
How do you think the government at the center, the APC at the center, will perceive the Lagos State government and the way because one would have expected, going by the way things are done in Nigeria, the pressure would have been mounted on by the Lagos State government on the panel, not to come out with this kind of report, which they came out with.
Well, it is obvious, you know, if you hadn't been back when I was here last, I just said that two people are running the government of Nigeria. It is now very clear. Malami, the Attorney General, and Lai Mohammed, the Minister of Information. Because repeatedly, Malami had done things that in a normal situation, he should be in jail. The president of this country nominated Magu as chairman of EFCC, and Malami wrote a letter to the National Assembly that he was corrupt. The president resubmitted the name again, and he wrote the same letter again. He's still the Attorney General of the Federation, and the senior legal law officer and advisor to the president of Nigeria. And look at what has happened with the $480 million. Where do you begin? His office was supposed to be involved in the attempted kidnap of Justice Mary Odili.
Allegedly.
Well, whether you call it allegedly or not.
Because he has denied.
Who in this country, people deny something? The people who were caught, are they from the moon? What has the federal government done to ascertain who came to that judge, who gave, the magistrate, who gave the magistrate instruction? Somebody must have given him an instruction to do what he did. Nobody is interested in those things. So if Mary Odili had died, this is the story we'll be telling in this country, one of the finest in this country. If those hooligans had done something, we were all sitting there and say, oh, that's the way God wanted her to go. That's the typical Nigerian attitude. So I don't think president is in charge. There are people doing his dirty job for him, and I think he's comfortable with it. Not unfortunately.
Would you call it dirty job, or would you say he is excluded from the main conversations of governance? Because again, you are only as good as what your team tells you.
Well, I don't know how else do you describe what Malami is doing? It's not a dirty job. Because it is convenient. They call it defense of the presidency, but is that defense of the presidency? What Shehu Garba is doing, is that defense of the presidency? When you remove truth from facts. You know, there's somebody I told that the best form of revenge is not to be like the one who committed the offense in the first place. Because time heals, reveals every secret. If you take time, the truth will be coming out. I don't know how he's going to end up, but it is unfortunate that this is what Nigeria is. But tell me how these citizens of this country can be patriotic with things like this, killing young boys and girls, students of higher institutions by their own government, because they are demonstrating for what? Police brutality. That would have expected government to be interested. At least have a national inquiry. Let there be scapegoats, scapegoats, authentic scapegoats, not made up scapegoats.
Yes, I was going to
that
say
you
that.
could use as an example to show that you are protecting your sons and daughters. And everybody has a right to demonstrate. In fact, I used to tell somebody that demonstration, protest, is a catalyst for dialogue. Once you protest, somebody must pay attention. And in paying attention, you invite the person to discuss. You know, it also follows what is happening in the Southeast. How can a young boy who was not born during the Civil War, imprisoned, languishing there, and Igbos religiously? In fact, somebody was telling me, a good friend of mine was telling me that we should stop going to the church on Sunday, used to work, and then go to church on Monday, because the compliance Igbos have for Monday now is total. Nobody is interested. They tell you to hell with the money they will make on that day, just to make a point. Whether that point they're making is positive or negative, they're not interested.
But people like Fadam Baka has come out to refute that and say that it is causing more problems for the Southeast.
I don't listen to anything Fadam Baka says. Since he started selling the Chimaroke will die, that person will die. That is not the job of a priest. It's a fake priest for me. No person who is a child of God, not to talk of a priest, will say that somebody will die. That's not what the Bible tells us. So since that incident, Chimaroke is still in the Senate. He has not died. So why should I take him serious? He says anything he likes, you know, and there are people who are deceived. They call it adoration. I don't waste my time talking about such people. Absolutely not.
All right, Chief Dano Lassie, let's talk about Anambra governorship election. We had a number of discussions before that election, counting down to that election. It's now come and gone. You had some predictions about that election. You're thinking about that election as well. Are you satisfied with the outcome?
Satisfied would be an understatement. Because on two different occasions, twice here and one on Chinese television, I said, how do you begin to look at? Not because he attended my university, which is about the best in the country, I must unapologetically say.
Modestly so.
The best and the first.
Then.
Still best.
Then.
Still. So, and when you look at his pedigree, where he's coming from, it is difficult. Apart from the candidate of PDP and that of the Labour Party, brilliant guys, and I said it on TV that they're brilliant, and each of them I told them their shortcomings, you know, why they will not make it. It's difficult to see how you place in a civilized community a former advisor to the government, consultant to World Bank, governor of Central Bank, who stabilized the banking industry. People, you know, we have short memories or convenient amnesia in this country, that there were times banks collapsed in this country. And those who were governors of Central Bank, they're still existing. People lost everything. I bought shares of more than 30 million naira in a bank, or Shenif Bank or something. It collapsed. I lost it up to today. I had 1.5 million shares. It came down to 50,000. I mean, what do you call it? But this young man came in, stabilized the banking industry. How many years now? Nobody's afraid to put his money in the bank. Isn't that a credit? That you believe that somebody like that will, you know, do his excellent best, because he's a first-class student. And you don't expect anything less, you know. So when you put him, you know, comparatively looking at my brother, the APC candidate.
Smile through the new year with a healthy, bright smile.
Waging an insurgency to try to overthrow the government and rid the country of Christians. Now human rights groups are asking the White House to stop the carnage. After losing ground in Syria and Iraq, the top general of U.S. Special Operations Command in Africa is warning that Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and other Islamic terror groups are now trying to take over parts of the continent's most populous nation.
Major General Dagvin Anderson says Muslim terrorists have set their sights on Nigeria's southern and northwestern regions, and the U.S. is now sharing specific intelligence with the country.
So this intelligence sharing is absolutely vital, and we stay fully engaged with the government of Nigeria to provide them an understanding of what these terrorists are doing.
Their goal? Eventually turn Nigeria into a Muslim country and force Christians, who make up half the country's population, to either leave or convert.
Christians are in the eye of the target, and they're coming after them.
And the numbers are staggering. August 6th, Muslims stormed 4 remote Christian villages in Kaduna State, killing 22 villagers. July 24th, 21 dead, scores injured, and several Christian homes destroyed by militants. July 19th, 19 people killed when assailants armed with guns and machetes attacked a wedding reception. And the list goes on. Leading human rights groups say what's going on in Nigeria is a genocide.
If you look at what's happened on the last 20 years, George, it's just massive number of attacks against Christians. Look, 50 to 70,000 have been murdered.
For years, the main terror group was Boko Haram, which seeks to overthrow the government here and create an Islamic state.
They go after Christians and moderate Muslims. They push a hardline Muslim agenda. It is their intention to establish a caliphate and to just rid all of Nigeria and West Africa of any Western influence whatsoever.
Now, there's a new actor on the scene. In Nigeria's so-called Middle Belt region, where the Muslim North meets the Christian South, a terror group made up of Muslim Fulani herders are killing thousands of Christians. More than 1,400 Christians were hacked to death in just the first 7 months of 2020 by Fulani herders.
Unfortunately, the secular media are quite often biased and trying to present this as a tribal conflict rather than religious.
Nigeria's president, a Muslim, has so far done very little to stop the bloodshed. His police and army are also mostly made up of Muslims.
The attackers are never captured. They are not prosecuted. The security services respond very slowly. A full day can go on with attacks happening and no security shows up. And frequently, the government officials will provide cover.
Helpless and vulnerable to almost daily attacks, leading Catholic bishops are now urging Nigerian Christians to defend themselves. Human rights groups are asking the White House to appoint a special envoy to help end the persecution of Christians in Nigeria.
Unless the world takes note and puts pressure, economic pressure, sanctions, visa bans on the officials who are responsible for this travesty and for not reining in the terror, then Nigeria will continue to be a bloodbath.
Meanwhile, King's Group is helping more than 3,000 Christians who lost their businesses, homes, farms, or land to Boko Haram and Fulani militant attacks. International Christian Concern has created communal farms to give victims the opportunity to rebuild their lives.
When they get back to work, the family is fed, they have a future, the kids can go back to school. It's a restoration of hope. It really is. And it's much more than just economics. It's the whole community. It's all the parts of life, the emotional, the physical, the mental. It means a lot to them.
ICC and so many other groups trying to bring hope in the midst of all this devastation facing the Christians of Nigeria.
And they are doing it.
They are, absolutely.
Great story, George.
Thank you.
Coming up, new evidence.
For delivering uncolored report on the NSAS shooting at Lekki on October 20th, 2020, members of the panel are now getting essentially targeted by agents of Nigerian government. They are being unfairly persecuted already just for coming out with their report that heavily indicted the government of liars. Since the submission of the NSAS panel report to the governor of Lagos State on November 15th, 2021, members of the panel have become subject of vicious attacks by those suspected to be agents of the government. All manner of allegations have been heaped upon panel members, some of whom have been called unprintable names. I can confirm that no member of the panel lobbied to be appointed into the panel. As a matter of fact, in my own case, His Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, appealed to me to accept my appointment, which I saw as a call to national service.
The primary reason the governor gave to me then was that he wanted men and women of integrity, independent and not subject to manipulation, to be on the panel. Just today, my attention has been drawn to an interview by a senior counsel to the Lagos State government to the effect that panel members collected bribe in the course of the assignment. It is unfair, ungodly, and least expected of the government and its lawyers. The Lagos State government asked for 2 weeks to enable it to release a white paper on the report submitted to it by the panel.